Now there is a tiny problem with this implementation. Let me comment out this line and go back to the console. Earlier I told you that every object in JavaScript has a constructor property that returns the function that was used to construct or create that object. Let's take a look at our circle object. So this circle, look at its prototype. This is essentially circle.prototype, right? Now here we have this constructor property which references our circle function. Now with this, technically, we can create a circle object like this, circle.prototype that returns this object here, right? And here we have the constructor property, and this returns this circle constructor function, right? So technically we can new up this expression and pass a radius of 1, and this returns a circle object. So this expression is equivalent to new circle of 1. They're exactly the same. Now obviously we use this form because it's shorter and cleaner, but in some rare circumstances, you may get a constructor function somewhere in your application, and you may want to dynamically create an object based on that constructor function. So there you can access the prototype property, and from there you get the constructor and then use the new operator. Now let's see what happens when we uncomment this line. So back in the console, let's take a look at the circle one more time. So circle.prototype, look, we no longer have that constructor property here. So let's look at the prototype for this object. Here we have the constructor property, but this is returning the shape function, not the circle function. In other words, with what we have now, we no longer can create circle objects based on its constructor in a dynamic fashion. So if we get this circle constructor dynamically in a function and then try to access its prototype property and then the constructor and then new that up, look, we get a shape object, not a circle object. The reason we're having this problem is because we reset the prototype of the circle. Before this line, the prototype of the circle had this constructor property. So circle.prototype.constructor, this was set to the circle constructor. That's why we could new up a circle like this. This is exactly like newing up a circle object, right? So as a best practice, whenever you reset the prototype of an object, you should also reset the constructor. So here we should set circle.prototype.constructor. We should set that to the circle constructor function. Let's save the changes. Now let's inspect C one more time. So here's the prototype for the circle. You can see constructor is referencing the circle function. Beautiful. We have the draw method, which is part of the prototype for circles, and the rest is exactly like before. So this is shape base, or the prototype for shapes, where we have the duplicate method. Now we can new up a circle like this. So circle.prototype.constructor, pass 1 as the radius, and we get a circle object. So one more time, whenever you reset the prototype, as a best practice, make sure to reset the constructor as well.